So maybe you're thinking about buying a condo. I'll tell you, the financing can be different on these. There's some considerations that you need to know about. We're going to do a deep dive in this video today. I'm Grant Barker, local mortgage banker here in Greenville, North Carolina. Let's jump right in. So first up, I want to cover the difference between a condo and a townhome. Simply put, a condo does not include the land when you purchase it. A townhome does include the land. The next thing we want to talk about are a couple of terms that you'll hear a lot about when you talk about condos, and that is a warrantable condo versus a non-warrantable condo. The simple answer there is a warrantable condo does work with traditional mortgage financing. A non-warrantable condo does not. So next up, I want to talk about loan programs and how each loan program looks at condos different. Specifically, let's start with FHA and VA. If you're going to do that kind of financing with an FHA or VA loan, it has to be for an FHA or VA approved condo. So when you think about the builder is building those condos, they set up that condo approval at that time. Well, on an FHA loan, they have to renew that condo approval. And I can tell you that hardly ever happens. Thankfully, on a VA condo approval, those tend to last through the long term with only a few exceptions. Next up, let's talk about conventional loans. Conventional loans, where you'll find the most success, is under a limited review of the condo. So there's a standard full review and then there's a limited review. That limited review basically means that the borrower is doing 10% down on a primary residence or 25% down on a second home or investment property. Quick note on that, this is only for condos. Don't worry if you heard that and you're thinking, oh my goodness, I can't buy a house. That kind of down payment is not required on other programs. Back to condos, right? With that limited review, it avoids some of the challenges that we're going to cover here later in this video. There's not quite as much detail specifically around the budget that we have to get into on a limited review. And that's why you'll see a lot of folks do the limited review under a conventional loan in that way. All right, next up, I want to talk about the potential challenges that can come up with condos. Now, I want to tell you, most of these are pretty rare. You're probably going to have success when you're purchasing a condo, but just in case, I want you to be aware of everything to know about going in. The first thing would be a single entity owning a large number of the units. So one person or a company that owns a large number of the units in the condo association, that's problematic for the financing. The second one would be the budget. Every condo association has to have a budget where they're setting aside reserves so that they can make future repairs on things like the roof, the parking lot, that kind of thing. The third item would be having sufficient insurance coverage. So every condo association has a master policy that covers all the units in a condo association, so you can see why they'd have to have the appropriate insurance. The fourth item would be a condo that's in litigation. So this is where a condo association is suing a contractor or vice versa. That's problematic. The fifth item would be deferred maintenance. Deferred maintenance is a scenario where the condo association is aware of repairs that need to happen on one or multiple units, and they're putting it off. They're saying, hey, we don't have the funds set aside for it, or we're just not going to do it. The sixth item would be special assessments. Special assessments are a scenario where the condo association says, you know what, we've not budgeted correctly. We don't have enough money to do the repairs that we need to do on however many of the units. And on top of the HOA dues, we're going to go out and collect more money from the condo owners to make up that difference. The seventh item would be condo tails. These are pretty rare, but I'll tell you, you're not going to see traditional mortgage financing on condo tails. The eighth item would be delinquencies on dues. So this is where the condo association is trying to collect the HOA dues, and they've gotten over 15% of the units that are over 60 days past due. That's a problem. The ninth concern would be commercial space on condos. This is pretty rare, but this is where a condo, maybe the first floor, has shops and stores and that kind of thing. That really needs to be under 35% of the total square footage of the condo. And then lastly, the 10th item would be the rental percentages. So when we look at how many of the units are actually rented out versus owner occupied, that can play a role, especially if you're purchasing a condo for investment property. I've gone into a lot of detail here. I told you this would be a deep dive, and I don't want this to scare you off. We see a lot of success with condos. These are just the items to kind of know about going in and maybe questions that you can ask. And I'll tell you, best practice on this, on many of the clients that I've helped with condos over the years, I like to call the condo association myself so that I can find out these details, right? I like to ask the questions early and upfront before somebody even goes under contract. I just think that makes for a smooth process for everybody involved. So on that note, if I can be of help to you or someone that you know, all my contact information is in the description below. And if you hadn't already, make sure to like and subscribe. Hope this is helpful. Thanks.